This is the story of the luckiest day in the life of a poor man named Kim. By the end of it, he would have given anything, every coin he made, for it never to have come at all. It begins on a grey morning in the city of Seoul, in the cold years of the Japanese occupation, when the sky promised snow and broke its promise. Instead, all that long day, a half-frozen rain came drizzling down. Not snow, not rain, just a cold grey sleet that soaked a man to the bone and never once let up. Kim pulled a rickshaw for his living, ran between the two wooden shafts on his own bare feet, hauling other men through the streets for a handful of coins. And for 10 days, he had not earned a single one. At home, just inside the Great East Gate, his wife lay sick. She had been ill for more than a month, coughing, wasting, unable to rise from the floor. There was no money for a doctor. There was barely money for food. That morning, as he stood to go, she caught his sleeve. "Don't go today," she said. "Stay." She could not say why, only that she had a bad feeling and wanted him near. He shook her off, not unkindly. They had to eat, and there was one thing she had been asking for 3 days running, a bowl of salongtong, the cheap white oxbone soup, warm and simple. Today, perhaps, he could finally buy it for her. So he went out into the rain, and the strangest thing happened. The luck came. He had not gone 50 paces before a customer waved him down. Then another. By mid-morning he had 80 jun in his pocket, more than he had seen in 10 whole days, and still the fares kept coming, one after another, in the pouring sleet, as though the entire grey city had decided on this one day to climb into his rickshaw. Kim ran, and the coins jingled, and he could not quite believe it. Then came the great fair. A student, hurrying to the station to leave the city, hired him for the long haul clear across town. Kim put his head down and ran, through the rain, through the cold, his lungs on fire. And at the end, the young man paid him 1 won and 50 jun. A fortune, more than he sometimes made in a week. He stood there in the downpour with the money in his fist, soaked and steaming and rich. He should have been the happiest man in all of Seoul. But he was not. Because here is the strange and terrible thing about that lucky day. The more money Kim made, the more afraid he became. He could not explain it. With every fare, with every coin, a cold weight settled heavier on his chest. A dread that had nothing to do with the rain. And when his running carried him near his own neighborhood, his legs turned to stone, and he found reasons, any reasons at all, to turn and pull another fare the other way. Anything but go home. It is nothing, he told himself. She is only sleeping, he told himself. Stop seeing her face, he told himself. Her face that morning when she caught his sleeve and said, "Stay." But the fear only grew. So he did what a frightened man with money in his pocket will do. He found a tavern, and he found a friend, Chi-sam, another rickshaw man, and he began to drink. And Kim, who was quiet and poor and tired, became loud. He laughed too hard. He threw his coins on the table. He shouted and he wept and he laughed again, swinging between joy and grief so wildly that Chi-sam only stared at him. He was celebrating. He was celebrating as hard as a man possibly could. Because so long as he sat here, laughing, drinking, he did not have to walk through his own door. And at last, when he could put it off no longer, he bought the soup. The sulangtang, the one she had asked for, and he carried it out still warm into the rain toward home. The closer he came, the heavier his feet. And then he stood at his own gate, and he heard it. The silence. The room where his wife lay was utterly, wrongly quiet. No coughing, no voice. Nothing at all, except thin and strange in the dark the small sound of the baby. And Kim, terrified, did the only thing his fear would let him do. He became loud again. He cursed. He kicked at the door. "Why is it so quiet in here?" he bellowed. "Get up! Are you asleep? I've brought your soup. Why is it so quiet in here?" Shouting and shouting to keep from hearing the answer he already knew. And then he went in. His wife lay where he had left her. She was dead. She had been dead for some time, and their little son, Gedong-yi, 3 years old, was still pressed against her cold breast, trying to nurse because no one had come, and he did not understand. Kim sank down beside her. He took her face in his 2 rough hands, and he shook her gently, the way you would wake someone. And he set the soup down beside her, still warm, the sulong tang, the bowl she had wanted for 3 days. "I bought it," he said. "I brought you the soup. Why won't you eat it? Why won't you eat it?" And then he pressed his face against her cold one and said the last thing, the words that have echoed in that small grey room for 100 years now, half a sob and half a broken laugh. "Strange that today, of all days, my luck should be so good."